Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, I'll be singing a lot at the beginning of my video. I'm sorry ahead of time. This is the monthly chart of the firm. What you're seeing here is a big giant cup and handle pattern. Or actually it looks a little bit more like a teapot and handle pattern. This is what I was referring to as the teapot. That's the mouth right there. That's the handle right there. This pattern actually doesn't exist. I just kind of made that up. But as you can see, this is the neckline right here. As price was down here, I thought it was going to hit 50. It was going to get rejected just because I don't think anything is going to be that easy. There's a big giant volume shelf over here. And when you see a volume shelf over here, you're going to expect some kind of friction, some kind of resistance. Sure enough, right on the top of this volume shelf is feeling some resistance here. And you got a little bit of a handle down. The handle tends to want to find support right around this level right here, which is the bottom of this volume shelf right there. The entirety of this move up was on very high volume. When it's forming this little tiny handle right here is on low volume. This is months number 1, 2, and 3, January, February, and March. All of those months of candles right here so far being engulfed by the December candle. The December candle was very high volume, and the December candle was very, very green. Now, so far, all these candles are inside with 1, 2, and 3. There's something called a rising 3 method, or rising 3 method. What happens is you have a very impulsive green candle needed to cool down, the bullish just needed to take a break. Then they let the bears kind of do their thing and see how far they can bring it down. In a way, it's kind of a little bit of a test. They want to see if the bears are able to reverse this candle. If it does, then you're going to need a lot more work to do. But if they span about 3 candles and all 3 candles still land within the candle right here, there's a big giant possibility that the next candle, or even this candle potentially, there's a giant possibility where the next candle could be green and can engulf all these other candles to go up. You kind of have a little bit of that over here where there's a green candle go up, and then bears spend about 3 months trying to bring it down below that level, but they're not able to. All these, the bodies of these candles are all engulfed by this big giant green candle here. Sure enough, the next month is pretty green. It didn't engulf everything like you would think about traditional rising 3 methods, but it's basically the same idea. Over here, I think we might have a very, very similar setup. Matter of fact, I think this setup right here is much better than the setup that we had back in early 2023. The reason why that is because the recent green candle is very, 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 very big volume, and so far we have very small volume as we form this handle right here. So far, this is a pretty bullish setup. Now, it seems to be finding support right here at the bottom of this volume shelf, and what it also has happened was this is the monthly chart, so I'm also showing the Ichimoku cloud here. The Ichimoku cloud is starting to form a little bit over here, but there's just not enough price history for it to actually be a cloud over here yet. But this is going to be where the bottom of the cloud is going to be. Now, when it comes to Ichimoku cloud, you're going to get 2 lines together along with that. This is the Tenkan line, and this is the Kijun line. The Tenkan line is the conversion line, the Kijun line is the baseline. Baseline is going to lag, conversion is going to come first. What happens here is Tenkan or conversion line has been serving kind of a little bit as like a resistance until it doesn't, until it turns to support. It's been turning to support really ever since the half of the year around July. It was resistance here for sure in June, and then it became support here in July. And then since then, it's just been really very much the support pushing the price up higher. And you're about to get this Tenkan Kijun cross probably over the next couple of months or so, depending on how the price action goes. But so far, it's looking like a very, very bullish setup on the Ichimoku cloud on the monthly, even though the cloud is still not quite there. But it's a pretty good setup. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you was also the Bollinger Bands. As you can see, the Bollinger Band is expanding, and the 20-month moving average, which is the basis of this Bollinger Band because it's a monthly chart, is pointing up. The 20-month moving average is now turning from bearish to bullish. Because of that, I think that this is probably just the beginning of a bull trend. I think it's probably going to go up a lot higher, especially when you get the bulls sniffing out that the bears is super weak. Basically, the bulls did all the work and then it stood on the side and look at these bears trying to do their thing. and the bears don't know what they're doing. Right? Low volume, can't push the price lower. The bulls are going to take over. Maybe this month, maybe next month. Doesn't matter. Bollinger Band's expanding, allowing room for price to go up even higher. Over here, it wanted to go up higher, but it just couldn't because it's just way outside of Bollinger Band. It just needed to cool down here. But I think the bulls most likely, based on the volume profile, high volume buying, low volume selling. I think bulls are going to come back and push the price a lot higher. Pretty bullish setup, right? Now, those are the Bollinger Bands, and those are the Ichimoku analysis. If you look at the Fibonacci levels, I think it's been pretty clear in terms of what it's trying to do. When pretty parabolic going up from the bottom below $10 up to this level, which is the 0.236, which is right around the top of this volume shelf here as well, got rejected. Went down, came back, trying to test it again, got rejected again. See how far we can go. So far we're finding support here. I guess I would not be surprised if it actually ends up hitting, $31, $32. But so far price is not doing that. So far price tends to be on pretty low volume selling. Pretty pathetic so far. And it's still kind of within this big giant volume shelf at the bottom of it. Again, there is a potential for it to go down all the way down to like 31 and 32. But so far there's no indication that it's necessarily going to have to do that. Once that happens, even if it goes down to like 31 and 32, ideally, if we can close within this candle right here, the bottom of this candle is around, I want to say around 34. If we close about 34 this month, I think bull's going to take over and going to push this thing a lot higher. Next thing you know, it's going to challenge the higher levels up here, which is at $74 on the Fibonacci level of 0.382. It's a pretty bullish setup based on volume, based on trend, based on the Ichimoku also confirming possible trend here. If you look at the weekly, all it has done is it has formed all these higher highs and higher lows, higher high, high low, form a very, very higher high here, is trying to dig and try to find a higher low before continuation. I don't care if the higher low is right here. I don't care if the higher low is a little bit lower. I don't really care about that. This is still pretty very bullish setup. I think the upside is going to be far outweighed the downside, especially if he's able to break about this volume shelf right here. I really do think that this is a pretty bullish setup. Looking at the sell volume, it's really been very, very pathetic. It just keeps on plummeting every week ever since you formed this bull flag right here. Whereas the buying volume, even from before, buying volume has been going up like crazy really throughout the entire 2023. If you look at fintel.com, you're also going to see a lot of buying volume there too, from institution. This is also one of the reasons as to why I like to enter the stock, because I was sniffing out that there's a lot of these kind of bullish pattern right here. I was really buying, I did buy a lot higher, don't get me wrong, but when the price is down here, I really start to load up, and I really really seriously trying to take my cost average down. And when price got up to here, it's really the area where I really stopped to not buy anymore. When the price got to 50, I really thought it was going to hit resistance, going back down here to test some of these levels down here before going up. Sure enough, it's doing that. When price is doing what I expect it to do, and when price is expecting certain patterns, when price is basically telling you with the volume signature right here that the bears are not going to last that much longer, this is a very, very good setup. Now, I already have a position. I'm not going to buy into this. I'm going to keep holding it. So I think it's going to keep going a lot higher. This is one of the positions that I've had that I'm very proud of. I start tweeting about it really around June or July area when I start seeing this pretty bullish reversal here. This is one of the two stocks I'm going to talk about as a very bullish setup. The other one also got a little bit of a, this is a little bit stretching, isn't it? The other one's also got a little bit of a teacup in the handle pattern, which again doesn't exist. What does exist is, if you look at the volume shelf, what we're looking at is we're right smack kind of in the middle between a couple of ranges over here of volume shelves, and it's just been kind of bouncing around a little bit. If you look at the monthly chart, this is going to give you a very, very clear picture here. I'm going to pull up the Ichimoku cloud. Shopify has been around long enough. It actually has Ichimoku cloud, and you can see what happened here. And I tweeted about this pretty extensively, that I thought that you're going to get pretty strong rejection right here around the low 90s. Sure enough, at the bottom of the cloud, got rejected. Right in the form, this kind of a little bit of nasty kind of shooting star toppy kind of candle. When I see something like that, I'm not so worried about it really on the monthly, because sometimes monthly is a little bit delayed. So even if you have like a little bit of a bearish formation here, the trend is still very, very bullish, making all of these higher highs and higher lows. I'm not really that worried about it. I think it's still trying to figure out where the higher low is going to be. And honestly, the bear so far has been not very impressive. And so far, price is actually finding support right around this volume shelf. Right here. The volume shelf is around $75, and so far it seems to be finding support. One bullish thing has happened while I got rejected off the cloud. The bullish thing is this. There is a Tenkan Kijun bullish cross right here. Over here is a bearish cross. Again, it's a little bit delayed. You already know that this is like a pretty bad bear trend here. But over here, it's a little bit delayed because, again, you're already missing all these bullish price action here. Unlike the bearish cross, the bullish cross generally has a lot longer shelf life. Matter of fact, this is actually, the last time you had a bullish cross was never, because it's just kind of been going up for about, since 2016 for about more than like 5 years. This is the first time that it actually crossed, and right now we're crossing back the right way. And this bull trend could potentially last for a very, very long time. The Tenkan had also served initially as resistance right here, but it flipped into support, back tested, and it continued to serve as support. Here's a little bit of a false breakdown, but because of how high, how positive slope this Tenkan line is, it doesn't serve as very good resistance at all, and price should have just pushed right back above it. Right now, you got a pretty decent support, not just at the volume shelf right here at $75, but you also got a pretty decent support of the Tenkan right here, which is around 68.5, and that also is a pretty good support. I think you also have a pretty good support around $70 here as well. At this particular volume shelf, it breaks down from this shelf right here. You could potentially find pretty good support at 70. And at 70, it would just mostly be like a back test of this breakout of this whole area right there, which I don't think is that big of a deal. Eventually, it's going to find support. It can take a couple months for it to do that. And I think that this is a pretty thin area of the cloud. It could potentially just break right through. In the year of 2024, I think there's a good chance that you might break above and see triple digits Shopify stock. There is a little bit of a decreased volume here. A lot of people are going to be worried about, hey, you're going to buy volume here. They're a little bit non-committal here. It's okay. I think price actually tend to melt up on low volume. It's not that big of a deal to me. A lot of people think that low volume melt up is dangerous, but actually that's kind of what the stock market does a lot of times. I still think we're early because we just had this Tenkan Kijun bullish cross right here. But I think it's going to maybe take at least a couple of months for it to kind of push about back to the cloud and really test some of these triple digit areas right here. Another thing that is going to tell you, you already know that it's forming higher highs and higher lows, but another thing that's very, very good to tell you is the 20-month moving average right inside the Bollinger Band. The Bollinger Band is not really expanding, it's actually kind of crawling up and down a little bit. I think that it needs to have some pretty impulsive price action to try to expand the Bollinger Band further for price to go up a lot higher. It may happen because I think that the 20-month moving average is actually pretty decent. Actually tested it right there back in October. Found a perfect bounce, went all the way back up to the upper Bollinger Band. And since then, it's been pulling this 20-month moving average higher. I think that whenever this thing is done working itself up, I think we're probably having a pretty decent size candle to push up and try to expand the Bollinger Band to keep going up here. There are still a few volume shelves to fight about, but once we're able to get through the ones that we just got rejected from, you're really talking about entering triple digits territory here. You're going to fight about 100, 104, this kind of area here, and beyond that, you're going to pretty much go straight up to maybe like around 147, 150. it's a pretty good setup because of the bullishness in terms of the monthly moving average here. Now, if you do the Fibonacci level, I'm going to do the Fibonacci level from up top to the cycle low down here. This also tells you a pretty good picture in terms of what's happening. Price is trying to break above the 0.382 Fibonacci level. Got rejected. Tried it again a second time, pushed a little bit further, got rejected. And right now we're having a little bit of a corrected move. Now you're going to see some support right around here, which is the $75 range, as well as a couple of support down here that I just kind of talked about. But it's basically building up energy, forming a little bit of a bull flag, if you will. It's building a little bit of energy, trying to push above this range. We'll see what happens. The month is still early, but so far the candle is not too bad. If anything, it's got a little bit of like a doji indecisive candle right here. It seems to be finding support right at this volume shelf. We'll see what happens as it goes along, but I'm kind of feeling, I'm not sure if the bears have enough energy to kind of push it back down to these levels to test. Regardless, if it does that, it will still be healthy because it would just, again, be basically just back testing the breakout at this particular level right here. Now, that is the monthly. Let's look at the weekly and see what's happening. One way to look at the weekly that I like to do is just is just to look at the stack of a few moving averages right here. Again, orange is 20-week moving average, blue is 50-week, and black is 100-week. I'm also going to add an extra indicator here, just a bull market support band. The bull market support bands consist of 20-week SMA and 21-week exponential moving average. It gives a pretty nice looking band right here that tells you that when it's uprising like this consistently, you're in a bull market, and it generally serves as support. That's exactly what the name says, bull market support band. So this right here is pretty positive sloping. Right now is serving as support, back tested over the last few weeks on decreasing volume, and also right here on the volume shelf. I think there's a high chance that this 20-week moving average, which is a part of this bull market support band, will most likely keep pushing the price up higher, just because how positive slope it is. If it doesn't, again, if it ends up going down to the lower levels, around the 66 level or something like that, 50-week moving average is going to come back and can provide even more support. And you got a curling up 100 right here. So these are risk level down underneath. But I really do think that if we're able to get over this volume shelf right around here, you're really going through the triple digits pretty soon. So to me, I think upsides, including the area up here, which looks very, very juicy up there, I still think upside is greater than potential downside, and downside you have a lot of these different volume shelves right here as support. So I think this is a pretty decent setup. Now, in addition to looking at these weekly averages, I suppose you can also look at the weekly Ichimoku cloud. It's not to tell you too much because price basically bounced from the top of the cloud and went up, and now it just looks like it's very bullish. Right here, you have the Tenkan still over the Kijun. Again, the Kijun 9 could also potentially serve a little bit of support here, but the weekly Ichimoku cloud is probably not going to tell you too much. Regardless, it's a pretty decent setup in terms of both Shopify and Affirm. And the reason why I think that is a pretty bullish setup for Shopify is really this rising 20-week moving average is really looking at this one to push the price up higher. It could dip below that a little bit, but if it keeps on rising like that, I don't think it matters. Eventually, if it keeps rising, it's going to serve as very poor resistance anyway, and price could just basically push back right up above it and just keep going. I have Shopify, I have Affirm. I'm not going to buy anymore because I've been buying a lot lower, and I'm just going to let them ride, and I find them to be great holds, and I'm going to see what happens in about a year or 2 or 3. I think that price is probably going to be a lot higher. We'll see. Thank you for listening. Bye.